Good evening, everybody. Great to see so many people come out on a rainy night to see Brian's talk on Nosema. Oops, how am I gonna do this? Okay, I gotta sit down to do this. So coming up, Gather and Blather right after Thanksgiving at Paladins League, 11 o'clock. Always great to see people, and it's always a different group of people, so please come out. And then, oops. Annual honey tasting is December 3rd, our biggest event of the year. And consider running for office because we're gonna have elections. So if you're interested, talk to the board or Jana. And we'll get you something to do. And January 7th, Jana's talking on Queens, and we'll cover that later. We just had the Portland Beekeepers Association conference. That's the view out the hotel window. It was great. They're changing their membership. And they've made it more complicated. We'll talk to you more about that later, but the upshot is all pub members are going to automatically be OSBA members. Details to be worked out. Laura and I presented 2 checks totaling $8,000 to the honeybee program at OSU. They were very grateful. We had the highest contribution of any club of all 17 clubs.
Nice.
It's really great. And it's a great conference, lots of good presentations, donations. We're talking about exploring the future programming focused on queen production, and there's a survey out in your email about that. Give Guide. So we're in Give Guide. We're already starting to get money in. Jessica, do you want to say anything?
Year, and we, the funding goes, we use it for the donations. We do a lot of upkeep and projects out at the Blanchet House Apiary. We're partnering with both Blanchet Houses here and Portland Fruit Tree Project. We had a couple of people that went to Cider Fest a couple of weekends ago. It's been such a great way to connect with other nonprofits. I mean, fundraising is an element of it, but we're really looking into like, how do we use these new relationships with some of these nonprofits that our mission really fits in really well with those. So I think as we figure that out, we'll look to membership to see where they want to fit in with that, with some of that. So that's all I got on that.
There's 2 other, there's Blanchet House, look at this, they're doing their own Give Guide. They're auctioning the honey we produce out at the farm. That's $20 a jar for fundraising purposes. And then if you go on their website and grab one of these, you can bid until tonight, actually, on all that honey. And then check out their wood shop is firing up. They're doing a lot of cool stuff there. And you can buy that stuff on their website now.
Nice.
Learning Apiary starts back up in spring, 1st and 3rd Sundays of each month at Green Anchors. I encourage you to get out there. Now, Brian really needs no introduction, but he's a Cornell Master Beekeeper and a Washington State Master Beekeeper. He's our Secretary and Treasurer of PUB and an experienced apiarist. And he's got a talk on Nosema. And we'll put questions to the end of this. Let me grab.
Tonight, we had scheduled a talk from Oregon State. Hannah Lucas was going to explain to us what they do at the honeybee lab and all about disease. And unfortunately, she became sick, and so I'm filling in on this. The reason I chose this, go ahead. Oh. Go. So fungus is prevalent in fungus is essential for bee digestion and also bee bread, which they use for protein, essential for all hives. And it's a beneficial portion of all hives. However, not all funguses are beneficial. We've got stone brood, we've got chalk brood, and unfortunately Nosema. And this is probably one of the least understood diseases, and one of the ones I feel is probably the most prevalent and maybe mismanaged. So we're going to learn a bit about it. At Washington State University, they've created, in conjunction with Mushroom Perfecti and Olympia, they've created a mushroom fungus extract which will lower the virus level in hives. It's in the process now of trying to get approval so that it could be a feed additive for hives. Here's a question for you. You notice that you've got fecal or matter dropping on the front of your hive. You check the internet and you suspect that you've got dysentery, and you decide the cause is Nosema. So you go to your favorite bee catalog, Man Lake, and you see a full page ad for fumigillin. You figure, boy, this is the right solution. We're going to buy this and treat it. Did you make the right decision? Well, hopefully by the end of the night, you'll know that you made the right decision or have a better idea of what this product might be to your hives and how detrimental and how dangerous it is to you. So that's the question, and that's the first question. So the agenda tonight is pretty extensive. We're going to talk about what is Nosema, the life cycle, prevention and management. We're going to talk about symptoms of colony infection, the difference between Nosema apis and Nosema cerene. In fact, we're going to talk about infected drones, queens, and workers, where to send samples, how to diagnose this disease yourself, possibly. We're going to talk about fumigillin, natural products, the interaction of Nosema and pesticides, beekeeper options and actions that you could take, nutrition management, as well as Varroa integrated pest management. So let's go to the next slide. So what is Nosema? This affects mostly older adult bees and can be presented and may not be prevalent in all bees in the colony. The spores in the mid-gut ability to absorb nutrients. This is a serious widespread disease. It's present in 50% plus of all colonies and cause you collapse or very much weaken your hive. It's caused by an environmentally resistant fungus spores and is spread by the bees. These are single cell fungus microorganisms. They've been around for a long time. Nosema apis was first described in 1909. And they were discovered to be spread by the bees in 1919. Nosema cerene was first present in 96. And recently they found when they classified this disease, it was mismanaged. So commonly everyone's going to be, no matter what it's called, it's going to be referred to as Nosema by us and the majority of all beekeepers. Let's go to the next slide then. So the bees will ingest spores contaminated with in either food products or fecal matter in the hives. And these spores get in the bees' midgut. They start multiplying, which is called the vegetative stage. And in 6 to 10 days, you can have 30 to 50 million spores. These spores are excreted by the bees in their fecal matter, and the cycle is repeated. And these are the various ways that bees, just being bees in the hives, are spreading this disease. Grooming, eating, cleaning. drones fertilizing queens, foraging on flowers with another bee that maybe had these spores. So it's easily spread and it's prevalent. Let's go to the next slide, Brian. So as far as prevention and management, this is going to center around being a darn good beekeeper. Anyone that's being proactive and taking care of their bees is doing the best that you can do. So on frames of comb that your queen is on, over time, that wax is going to collect the miticides used to treat for varroa mites. It's gonna, if the environment has any insecticides, fungicides, pesticides, those are gonna be brought into the hive and absorbed by the wax. So by keeping those frames in your hive, it has a real detrimental effect on the queen. So it's common practice that after a few years, you should replace your frames. You can either replace the frames, or what I use plastic frames and I scrape the wax off and let the bees start over. If you have wooden frames, you could replace the wax comb on it or just discard them. But after 5 years maximum, that's the longest you should leave those frames in the comb. You could reduce your exposure to pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides. Not many of us are going to move our bees to a better environment, but you could limit what you're using yourself and encourage your neighbors not to use these types of products. And it's really not a huge issue in urban areas. If you're in an agriculture area, you're more and more susceptible to having these problems. Keeping your bees healthy and strong. That can be as much as combining weak hives, culling hives that are ready to fail. Whatever you have to do to make your hives strong is a good beekeeping practice. Having your bees in a good location with good drainage, summer, especially in winter, an exposure to the sun, and controlling your ventilation in the summer. So your bees in the summer are collecting nectar, and it's maybe as high as 80% water. And those bees will bring that nectar into the hive, and they'll work like mad to get that moisture content in the nectar down to 18% or less. All that extra moisture that's out of the nectar has to go somewhere, and you need to ventilate it to get it out of the hive. In the winter, you need to be able to control the moisture. Whether or not you're using a ventilation hive or a condensing hive, you need to be able to control that. You can build up weak hives with syrup, pollen frames, or frames with nurse bees. You can replace queens, and that's really a good idea to do this in the fall, so that you start with the next spring with a new queen that's less likely to swarm, and as well as her sperm viability is much stronger. In your situation, if you suspected or even slightly was thinking that any of your hives were diseased, especially with Nosema, you'd want to prevent swapping those frames from that hive to a hive that wasn't infected. In the fall, robbing exposure, those bees could come in and bring in spores of Nosema. So if you can prevent that with good beekeeping practice. In Canada, it was found that queens imported from New Zealand were had a less resistance to Nosema. So using locally sourced survivor stock queens is is probably your best option at all. So let's go to the next slide, Brian. So what are some of the symptoms that you might have with a colony infection? You could have reduced honey production, a dwindling population, queen supersedure. You could have winter colony loss, slow to produce honey or brood. And it's almost impossible for you to determine that you really have Nosema. And it takes a scientific evaluation to determine this. The primary location is the midgut, which may be swollen and whitish. And these conditions are often confused with other diseases. You might notice fecal matter on the comb and hide entrance. And we're going to talk about this later because this is one area that's quite misunderstood. Your life cycle of your bees could be reduced as much as 50%. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. Dysentery often results from fermented honey, dark honey with high ash content, unripened honey syrup with high moisture content, or when combined for extended periods. Avoid leaving uncapped honey or sugar syrup over the winter. All these kind of conditions can lead to dysentery. And so a common practice is you see dysentery, you figure, oh, I must have Nosema. That is not necessarily true, and probably not true, but that's something that you need to be aware of because that's easily misunderstood. Let's go to the next one. So we have 3 different types of Nosema, and Nosema apis is the one that was discovered in 1909. This was the most prevalent one in the world, and this is the one that caused dysentery. And right now, it's less than 1% of all infections are based on Nosema apis. And the products that we're talking about later are ones that were designed for this one that affects less than 1%. So you're treating something so Nosema serene is the most common form of Nosema you have. And this can infect bumblebees as well. And this is not causing spotting on the hive entrance. Fumagillin, that's the chemical that we're going to be talking about, may make this situation much worse. In fact, it is common that this makes it, in 20 days, a much worse infection. Spore counts can increase and as well as decrease in warm weather, associated with winter climates, and honeybee immune system is reduced. Nosema pneumonis is one that was recently discovered in Africa, and it hasn't hit this area yet. So we're going to talk about infected queens and drone workers. Go ahead, Brian. So if your adult worker bees are infected, they're going to be consuming more food. They have a reduced fat body. They produce less royal jelly. They forage less efficient, and they die sooner than bees not infected. Queens infected have a shorter lifespan and can quit laying eggs after a few weeks. Drones lose sperm viability faster than normal, have a shorter life, and can easily transmit this infection to a queen during mating. If infected, you can freeze the frames and comb for 4 days and kill this disease. So if you were able to, you could fumigate with acetic acid, not really exposed to heat to 120 degrees for 24 hours or 140 for 15 minutes. Exposed to gamma radiation. And you might consider fumigillin. That's an option. All this stuff probably isn't practical for the average beekeeper. So hide bodies, the inner covers, all woodenware. You can scorch it with a blowtorch, disinfect it with heat, and reuse it. The susceptibility of Nosema ceranae to freezing may explain why this is a much more serious degrees in warmer climates than we have. But our climate is getting warmer. There's no question about it. Global warming has had an impact on us. Okay. You can send samples to Washington State, Oregon State, Washington State universities. I would suggest we send our samples to Oregon State. The USDA Research Lab in Beltsville, Maryland still is in production, but unfortunately our present administration is trying to close it down and sell off the land for development. So I don't know how long this will be in existence. You can diagnose this. It takes a 400 power polar microscope, and there's a process where you can take adult bees and separate the abdomens with scissors, put them in a plastic bag, crush them, add a certain amount of water, and put them on a special slide with a graph like this. And you can count the spores and do a little mathematics, and you can figure out what your infection is. I only know of one person that has this type of microscope, and it's Mandy. But if you're interested, there's a YouTube video on it, and Washington State University has a video on how to do this. I have never done it myself and don't plan on it, but it's there and it's available. And if that rings your bell, get a microscope and do it. Okay, fumigillin, is it effective? Is it safe for bees and humans? So let's go ahead with this stuff. This is an antibiotic used from a fungus used to control Nosema apis in the 50s. And this really works. It increased survival rate if Nosema apis is your infection, which is less than 1% of the normal. Let's continue on. For Nosema ceranae, they find the spore production 100% higher after 20 days after treatment, indicating an increase in the infection. Go ahead, Brian. The use of fumigillin has a negative consequence on the bee's health. And so you shouldn't ever just treat this proactively without actually knowing that's what your infection is. Fumigillin is toxic to human, and residues present in honey can pose a risk to human health, including cramping, diarrhea, and weight loss. Here's the scary one. This has the potential to alter human DNA. No one put this on the label either.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's not good.
Go ahead. Fumigillin fed in the spring and early summer. In Canada, they did a study in Alberta, northern Alberta, and they showed an increase in honey production. That was the one study that I know of that was done. Go figure, I don't know. So there's a lot of products that are available. Go ahead, Brian. That possibly can increase your hive health. Nosema. You can buy this on the internet. It's common in Europe, and there's no scientific evidence that works, but a lot of people swear by it, and they buy it. Go ahead. Hive Alive. I think a lot of us use that. Dewey's got it on his hat. I've used it. I've got some fondant that includes that. It's on my hives right now. Go ahead. Honeybee Health. I think most of us might have used this product. It's lemongrass and a few other spearmint and essential oils, and it's a good feed additive to bees. I don't use it in the early fall because it increases robbing, but it is it'll keep mold down in your sugar syrup. I think it's a good product.
Brian, you got a question over here?
Those three things that for treatment, are those for apis, for serrane, or is there any differentiation?
They're actually for improving your colony
Oh,
viability and health. That's the reason I put them up there. And if you had a stronger colony, your chance of surviving Nosema is much higher. They found that there's an interaction that's understood between pesticides and Nosema. Exposure to some of the neonicotinoids, these are pesticides, the really insidious ones that are the worst ones you can have, increases your susceptibility to Nosema. So I don't think any of us are personally using neonicotinoids, but they're in the environment, and that is some of the interaction. Go ahead, Brian. Bees from brood crane with residue from pesticides are more likely to develop Nosema serrane. So that was when I was talking to you about culling brood frame. Okay. There's evidence of that. Here's something you can do that we should all be doing is when we're inspecting our hives for varroa mites, we're looking at brood frame and brood patterns. Are we looking at the interaction of all the honey and all the bee bread and all the different sources of bee bread, different colors, and the prevalence and the quantities of it? So for being a beekeeper and having a healthy hive, you need to be aware of your brood pattern, prevalence of disease in that, the quantity and the variety of your bee bread, and also capped honey, all necessary for good bee health. Go ahead. Nutrition management. I brought some example, I forgot to bring it. So when we're feeding sugar syrup or candy boards or making fondant, we want to use 100% white sugar. No brown sugar, none of this other stuff. When you go to Winco and buy the Winco brand of sugar and you read the label, you'll find out that a percentage of it is white sugar and percentage of it is other stuff. I look at that product and put it down and pick up the C&H that's 100% cane sugar. I don't think it makes a difference if it's cane sugar or beet sugar, but you don't want to have a variety of additives put in there that are unknown. In the wintertime, I make candy boards and put them on. I make fondant. A lot of people use sugar cakes over winter to keep their hives survive the winter. You can use pollen collected from healthy hives, not from the store or the internet. Pollen patties that you're buying online or making yourself. Super DFM is another food additive It's got probiotics in it. You can buy this on the internet. Bee Tree is made by a friend of mine up in Victoria. Hans Feigenheimer. And it's basically a food additive which increases hive viability. The Honeybee Health Coalition has a great publication on bee nutrition. You can get this off the internet. We always think of the Honeybee Health Coalition as their varroa mite treatment. There's one on bee nutrition that's equally as good. You should download this and follow it. It's a great publication. Varroa IPM. It's essential for having a healthy hive that you're controlling varroa. Honeybee Health Coalition has a fantastic publication on it. I personally don't use synthetic chemicals. Apivar has been found to be mite resistant. I use non-chemical controls. I use essential oils. And I use the acid, formic acid and oxalic acid, myself personally. You can do what you choose. We all have different ideas, but it's essential you monitor, test, treat, and then test again and control your varroa mite levels, the recommended levels in the publication. Go ahead, Brian. Okay, here's some key points to take home. This is a serious, widespread disease. Your bees have a 50+% chance of being infected. You probably have it. Your beekeeping practices are your best defense. Most commercial products are not effective. Washington State and Oregon State are your best options for analysis. And here's the proactive assessment and management for varroa and nutrition is critical for the health of your colony. And this is really the sad one. If you have a serious Nosema infection, there's really no good solution. So it's up to you to do a good job from the start and proactively the whole season, and hopefully you'll never be in this situation. So that's the conclusion. Oh, here's my references. I did an extensive amount of research on putting this together. I feel my presentation is well documented and scientific. So I'm open for questions. Yes, Bruce.
When you talked about things would cause transmitted this, I've
Yes,
seen it. You had something down that I've never seen before, and I'll try and pronounce it. Trophal axis.
okay, that's where bees are taking their mouth parts. So as the bees come in, they're bringing in nectar in their honey gut. Bees get mouth to mouth and they transfer it from that bee to another bee, to another bee, to another bee until it finally gets to the cell.
And they call that the process.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yes, John.
Do the universities charge for disease analysis?
What?
When you send a sample into either Washington State or Oregon State, do they charge for that?
Nope.
Okay.
Washington State was encouraging a donation because their facilities are quite in the past, substandard, you might say.
Mhm.
And when I contacted them a couple of years ago, they could only take limited samples and they were encouraging people to make a donation so they could get their facilities up to speed. I don't know what it is now.
Okay.
And I've never said anything there, so I couldn't tell you. But I know Oregon State charges nothing. And
I have a question.
Yes,
Okay, out of all of this, and I realize it's a really good presentation. But what is the first thing you see and you think, oh, I might have Nosema, so I should figure out how to get an analysis? Is it poop on the box?
well,
I'm
we
not a
were,
beekeeper.
so
Good
there was
question.
only one instance that would be poop on the box.
Nosema?
Nosema apis, not Nosema ceranae. So if you had a dwindling hive that was just struggling along, wasn't doing good, and you were noticing that your bees weren't lasting very long, they may be having a swollen midgut that was whitish, wasn't quite as productive as you would expected, you start wondering, what's going on? And so, and if you had a weak hive, you might consider, and you saw frames that you thought were infected, you might throw those frames away and put in new ones. You might combine a weak hive with an old hive. But probably if I suspected this right away, I think the best thing I could do right away would be to requeen. But there's not really good options list.
Well, I mean, I just wanna know, because me not being a beekeeper. This doesn't say, okay, right now,
When you see the,
I see this
did you
thing.
see that last solution?
yeah,
If you had it, you don't have a good option.
yes, okay.
I mean, that kind of tells the whole thing.
Okay.
Yes,
So when you talked about the swollen whitish midgut,
yes.
I'm thinking that's inside the bee, how am I gonna see it? Would you?
Well,
see
if
it
you
from the
picked up a
outside?
bee
Yeah.
and you'd see the head, the thorax and the abdomen,
Mhm,
you know, you see the three parts.
right,
And if you looked at one and it was abnormal, swollen a little bit more, maybe a different color of the midgut.
so
That's,
you're gonna see that from the outside of the bee?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to cut it in half and look inside, because, yeah. You got a question, Jim?
Oh, no, I was just
Oh.
saying that, I heard requeen was a good option.
Oh, yeah,
from,
Yeah.
people.
so,
Good question over there.
So when you made reference to in the hive, the dark comb with the high presence of ash, what do you mean by ash? Wood ash or anything?
you know, I don't have a good answer for that. Maybe Dewey does.
Every time they rear a bee, they leave, some behind. And so that's that, when we then melt it down, we get that ash from it, so that's what it is, it's the remains of brood rearing, basically.
Thank you.
Now, how long would this linger if you pulled equipment that had it, you didn't know it had it? And you just pop it away in your shed, does it linger in the equipment or does it
Well,
dry out or stay wet?
okay, they were talking about if you were to, okay, say for instance, you put it in your shed. And you were lucky enough to have a cold winter. And it froze. Pretty much would take care of it.
That's the 4 days freezing.
Yeah, but
Or
I
heating to a certain temperature, you heat that stuff up, it's like nothing.
mean. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I freeze all my, ones that don't have bees in them.
Oh, good, yeah,
So that would essentially take care of it.
that's you got a great practice if you've got a freezer you can do that in.
Yeah, I bought one, a cheap chest freezer, and it works well,
Super.
works great.
So that's kind of the
Are
end
you,
of my presentation and we're gonna open it up for general questions.
well, as far as the freezing goes, are you freezing just the frames, or are you freezing all of the woodenware, the
Well, I
box?
took the whole box and set it in the freezer.
Yeah, okay. So the Nosema can live on not just the frames, but on the boxes and the,
Well, they were talking about these spores being on flowers that another bee could go to. I don't know the places those spores could survive, but I would suspect it's
anywhere.
anywhere. I don't know that, but
Question from Dennis Palkey. How does requesting get rid of the fungus spores? How does requeening get rid of the fungus spores?
I don't think it does. But it maybe makes a crop of new bees that would be healthier. I don't think it has anything to do with the spores themselves.
Your new queen probably wouldn't be infected.
Sure,
Right.
that's a very good point, Eric.
As long as you have new equipment to put the queen into. So you've kind of got to,
I don't know about that.
Now, is it something that can be spread systemically? So if the queen has it, will she automatically give it to her offspring?
Well,
Or is it something that's more topical that they have to be exposed to?
well, they consume it with their mouth parts, whether it's spores on the food in the hive, or they inadvertently eat some fecal matter where it was deposited in. And that would be in their gut, and then they've got these millions of spores that get pooped out all the time, and pretty much it's just all over in the hive.
The queen does not pass it through her eggs, no. It doesn't get into the egg if the queen has no demons in her digestive tract.
Yes.
do you think plastic frames or styrofoam high-tech frames or hive systems are any help in this situation? You can't burn it, yeah.
That's true.
Styrofoam is gonna go.
What's the phone for? You know, I mean, none of that matters.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you on that one. All I don't know if there's been any studies on the advantages of plastic frames and wooden frames and plastic foundation and wax foundation. I don't know.
Manufacturers claim that those polystyroids, what we call styrofoam, keep bees healthier. And so healthier bees would have a better ability to keep the levels of Nosema down and not spread it as much. But there isn't really much independent research to show that the polystyrene hives are how do you define stress and how do you define healthier? It's a dilemma. And all the data is their own, not, I'm not really seeing much independent data at all.
Okay.
I mean-
See here, let's see.
I mean, the only anecdotal thing I have about polystyrene is out at the learning apiary,
Yes.
we have one polystyrene hive. And this is our third year for it, so. I mean, we just finished our third year, but the first year we put a really small colony in the fall that we didn't think was gonna make it over the winter, cause it was pretty small. And they came out of the winter and into the spring booming like crazy, and they've been going ever since. That's the only thing I know about, I mean.
Yep.
My insulated hives don't stop having brood all year long, or all year long.
really?
Are they insulated on top and around the sides?
Not, they usually go 3 frames in. Before there's brood.
Okay.
Your insulation though, is it on top and on the sides?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a 2-inch thick
Okay.
foam for the top 24 inches.
How are you insulating? I'm new to beekeeping and I am so impressed by the wealth of knowledge that you all have. I've been working with Glenn Andreessen, and this is my second year and I had no honey production at all. I'm hoping that a few people will give me some already pre-drawn comb for my super so that maybe that will encourage my bees. Last year I had a beehive that almost made it through the winter and I was feeding them fondant and then they froze. So you're bringing up this insulation and I'm thinking about this for this year. I have an even better hive this year, even though I didn't get honey, and I really want them to, really want to try to do my best at wintering them over. So if you could please share that knowledge, that would be helpful.
Every beekeeper has their own ideas. And I don't know if there's a right and wrong answer to doing the overwintering. I can tell you what I do. And I'm not going to say it's the right way, but it's just what I do. I reduce my bees down to 1 deep super. I close the screen bottom board. I have a small lower entrance. I don't use an upper entrance. I put this year I put 32 pounds of candy board on top of because my hive was quite light. I've got fondant on top of that, so I put a tremendous amount of resources on it. On top of that fondant, which is on a double emery shim, I've got a foam board that would collect any kind of moisture and keep it from dropping down. But I use the condensing hive concept for wintering. And I think it's a better option than the ventilating hive. On top of that, I've got 6 inches of dense foam on top of that top insulation. And then years ago, an outfit that was called Naked Bee in Portland, they made cedar boxes that would go around the outside of your hive.
Right.
And so I've got covers on the outside of my hive that's got and then a oversized telescoping cover on top, and I strap everything down. And the only reason I'll keep that closed up until Thanksgiving. I'll treat it between Thanksgiving and Christmas a couple times with oxalic acid vapor. Maybe in January on a nice day when it's maybe 50 degrees and sort of sunny and not too windy, I might take a peek to see if I need to add more fondant. And I'll leave that hive alone until probably March. And that's how I overwinter. And I'm not going to say that's the right way or the wrong way. That's just what I do.
No,
I'm sure you can talk to a lot of beekeepers and they're going to tell you they're going to do something different, and it probably works just as good as for me.
no, I think that's super helpful. Thank you. And I think what I need to do is do your apiary learning center and
Yes, go out to Jenna. She's the expert out there.
Yep, to be with someone more
Everything you need to do.
where you're in person and learning. So thank you. This is great to join. I appreciate it. And for all the work that you guys do, because I know many of you have been part of this club for a long time.
You're welcome.
Jenna, Jenna, are you doing an installation seminar?
I totally can.
Yeah.
You want to give her my email and?
Yep.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then.
And winter feeding, because I don't have a super. I just have 2 brood boxes.
Brian's shooting you my email right now, and I'm totally happy to discuss via email or phone further wintering topics if you want to.
That's so kind. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You want your
So
Gmail?
is there any connection
Yeah.
between varroa and varroa mites and Nosema?
Yes, there is. So if you have varroa mite infestation, you've got a weakened hive, and your hive is going to be more susceptible for any kind of problems. So if you don't control varroa, you might as well just forget about it. You're more susceptible to the 20+ viruses they have. The common ones are deformed wing and paralysis and stuff, but there's a bunch more and also, so varroa weakens a hive so much it's susceptible for all this stuff. And if you didn't have a strong, healthy hive, that's when you're gonna get Nosema spores they're in the hive, they're gonna take over.
So a healthy hive can fight this off somehow.
Yeah. With a healthy hive, you're probably not gonna have an issue. So by being a good beekeeper, you can pretty much have a fairly good possibility that this won't be a problem for you. Because those spores are probably in your hive. You've got more than a 50+% chance that it is, and you probably have those spores in your hive.
So testing is gonna tell you have spores.
Well, you're gonna have to test it. You're gonna have to send samples to Oregon State or go through that complicated microscopes. But I mean, so what? You got the spores. Yeah, I mean, what's that gonna
What's
tell
the
you?
point of testing if you suspect that you do?
Well, if
Do
you lost,
upper management techniques.
but if you
Strengthen
lost
your
a hive and really wanna know what did I do wrong,
Okay.
that's a good thing to know then.
Okay.
And then you'd know, hey, I'm gonna do something different now. Yes,
Should be simple.
So,
Poop on the box.
that one picture that you had of the frame that had the brood.
Yes.
And then it looked like a gap. It really didn't look like a lot of bee breath to me. It just looked like a gap.
yeah, that picture didn't have a lot of bee bread.
Okay, so, and then you had.
That was just an example of,
Well, some of my comb is dark like that, but. And some of my dark comb, they didn't do a whole lot with this year. And I've only been beekeeping for 3 years, so I'm wondering if there's pesticides that have gotten accumulated in the wax or.
well, if there wasn't even pesticides, if you used any miticides, if you used Formic Pro, Apivar,
I
Apigard,
used Formic Pro once and I lost the queen. It's not a
yeah,
time ago.
oxalic acid,
But I use oxalic acid all the
Yeah.
time.
I don't know, you've got pesticides, herbicides, insecticides in the environment,
I'm saying that comb. Okay.
so they just say the common practice is 3 years, no more than 5 years, you need to replace those frames. However you choose to do it, that's up to you. Yes, Liz.
Oh, I have no.
Oh, you told me to shut up. Okay,
I'm gonna push Minnie. Yeah, she's gonna try.
Hey,
Oh, I was just gonna say, part of the reason they get dark too is just the bees walking on them and raising brood, because when they pupate, they leave a little bit of their cocoon, yeah, thank you. Like, what is that sac thing called?
Yeah.
The cocoon gets left behind in the thing, so the cells get smaller, they start getting darker and darker as they're using them, so
Usually gotten rid of
it's,
really dark comb,
yeah.
but it's like. Yeah, I mean, it's apparent to me now when I pick that, but we've only been keeping it for 3 years and I know that's not an original comb that we had.
Yeah,
when we started.
it probably came from a nuke or something,
Right.
and yeah. And that nuke, that when you get it from a nuke, the beekeepers are like, the commercial guys are like, I'm getting rid of my old comb, you know, so cycle that out first and. And try
Anyone
not
want
to
a
do
copy of this?
all at once.
Here.
Yeah, no, I.
There you go, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, thank you for, oh. you
Was
have
there
a
one-
question, Susie?
Somebody I know made like a stamp and stamped the top of their frames with a date. I've written it on there with Sharpie and sometimes you can read it, sometimes you can't, but you know, that helps.
And people have used, daubs of paint,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and they've used they've used the queen color.
That's what I've.
Yeah, you know, and stamp it, and then you know when you put that frame in. Anyway, there's lots of methods you can use. Huh? Anyway,
Metal stamp
Yeah.
and heat them up.
I guess it's, time for me to shut up.
Going back to this, originally you were talking about OSBA. I remember, do we have to neglect signing up and we no longer have to pay the $50 a year? Or what's the plan?
I think you can neglect, yes,
Oh.
until they'll get their money out of us now. That's the plan.
So
Yeah.
it's, I think it's a work in progress, Bruce, but it's happening soon and you can save your shekels.
Okay.
We can join Oregon State.
Huh?
Or we can join the association.
Well, what's gonna happen is they just passed a change to the bylaws.
Yeah.
So that we used to pay $1 for every member in the club, which turned out to be about $250 a year for our affiliate membership. And we had to have 5 members of OSBA to be a certified club. Those rules have been taken out and they said, okay, every club is gonna pay $5 per member. And all of you will be members of OSBA. And so, that's gonna happen January 1st.
Okay, yeah.
And so, so it's really a good thing for us as a state, for a club, and especially for OSBA. Because it's a great organization, they do tons of great things. And getting us all more actively involved is like a win-win for all of us. So I think it's a wonderful thing.
A lot of benefits for individual beekeepers too, insurance,
Yeah.
courses.
Yeah, we get our club insurance through OSBA for a $250 membership.
Cool, nice.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
It's a good,
January.
yeah, that's a good thing. Right.
I'm not sure, but they're hashing it out right now, so there's, OSBA does want, they want you to know that it's not just for commercial beekeepers. It's an organization for all beekeepers. That's quite clear in their mandate. So there are a lot of commercial beekeepers, great resource, but I think the majority are individual beekeepers.
Yeah.
Does it change anything like for cutouts or
Or for like the swarm list.
it's a large swarm list?
Probably.
All that's being worked out with Brian, and I don't know.
I think
And the organization, it's a work in progress right now.
I would say the swarm lists are additive. We have one major one. We have a second one that's operated by a past president. So you can sign up for all, and then OSBA has one too. And they've assigned people to me somehow. Because people do ask through OSBA. So slightly different group of people, different geographic areas. But sign up for all the swarm lists.
Yeah, are you an OSBA member?
No.
Okay, well, in January, when you become one, you can sign up on their list.
Okay.
They do it differently. They just publish your name and phone number or email address, whichever you give them
Oh,
on their website, and then people
Yeah.
just randomly call you.
It is a little more random. You'll get emails that you have to
classified.
kind
Kind of, yeah.
might want to give them a,
And you have to be willing to have your name just there on the website, because
Yeah.
people just random
Maybe
public
a
person just. goes and
second,
says-
use your secondary email for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My main one is pretty much done now, so it's.
Yeah, just start a new. Okay, guys. Oh, wait.
Thanks.
Let's see, couple questions here. Oh, does Pub or OSBA offer a mentor program for new beekeepers? Pub
Yes.
does, and I don't know about OSBA.
Have them email.
Are
me.
you,
No, clubs.
I'm a
Um,
mentor on OSBA and also a mentor in our Pub Beat Buddy program.
yeah, contact Jana on that question,
Yeah, I'll
Andrea.
I'll shoot them an email with all the. how to find
Yeah.
resources.
And then
Well,
Dennis
I have
has,
a lot to talk about, Jana. Thank you.
Sure.
Dennis's question is, if you belong to multiple clubs, will you pay OSBA multiple times? Yeah, actually,
Each club is better.
yeah, just because the club is tariffed on the number of beekeepers.
So
So
I'm a lifetime member of Central Coast Beekeepers, because I had a house at the beach, and years ago, they had a $300 offer for a lifetime membership. And then I've given presentations at Portland Metro and Columbia County. I contacted all three of those clubs and told them, take off my membership and don't pay the $5 in my behalf because
There you
I'm
go.
paying here.
yeah,
So I think if you're a member of multiple clubs, you might contact them and say, hey, rescind my membership and I'll just have one club pay the $5 for me.
and Dennis, I'll bring that up at the president's discussion group, because I don't think they really thought that part. The details still need to be hashed out, so I'll bring that up. Yeah.
But he won't pay it. The club
No,
will.
it's the club.
Yeah,
pays it.
yeah,
Well, it might vary by club potentially, right? Like,
Oh.
we're trying to figure out what OSBA is doing. Maybe the first year we cover everybody. Maybe the second year we up our membership by $5. So every club might theoretically, some might absorb that cost and pay it for their members. Some might transfer that cost to their members.
Yeah. good
yeah,
point.
especially the smaller clubs might have to get hit with.
Pick up your chairs and put them away.
Would anybody like this presentation?
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for being online and thanks for your questions.